Our Torah portion for today is Yitro. In English, that would be Jethro. So let's go to the overview of the entire portion of this week. It starts with the arrival of Jethro, and then we have the preparation for revelation. This is God coming down on Sinai for 3 days. It's 3 days of sanctification. Then we actually have the revelation at Sinai itself, where the 10 Commandments are given. And then we have the response of the people. They were terrified. They were full of fear. And then Moses and Adonai's reassurance is the closure of this Torah portion. The Torah portion of Yitro, or Jethro, stands at the very center of redemption. Egypt is behind us. Sinai is before us. And the question that is hovering over the entire portion is not whether Adonai will speak, but whether the people will be able to live with what Adonai reveals. That is, in the Hebrew, emet, truth. Why is this important? Because freedom without truth implodes, and truth without structure falls on itself. Then comes Jethro. Jethro teaches us how redemption becomes sustainable, and Sinai teaches us what reality actually is. Jethro's arrival introduces a crucial dimension of truth, and that is often overlooked. It is institutional truth. When Jethro observes Moses judging the people from morning until night, he says plainly, we're going to start in Exodus chapter 18, verse 14. The next day Moses sat to judge the people, and they stood around Moses from morning till evening. His father-in-law saw all that he did for the people. And then Jethro said, what this you're doing to the people? Why sit by yourself alone with all the people standing around from morning until evening? Going to verse 17. Moses' father-in-law said to Moses, what you are doing is no good. In the Hebrew, lo tov. Jethro sees something troubling. Moses is judging the people from morning until night. The work is holy. The intention is pure. But Jethro says something shocking. Lo tov. The phrase lo tov is rare in the Torah. The last time we heard lo tov together was in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, where Adonai says, it is not good for man to be alone. The Torah is intentionally and deliberately drawing a line from Eden to Sinai. Just as isolation in creation was lo tov, not good, so too isolation in leadership is not good either. Moses is righteous. He is humble. He is faithful. Yes, he is chosen by Adonai, and still in his method wrong. And what is Jethro's solution? Exodus chapter 18, starting in verse 21. But you should seek out capable men out of all the people, men who fear God, men of emet, men of truth, who hate bribery. Appoint them to be rulers over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and let them judge the people all the time. Then let every major case be brought to you, but every minor case they can judge for themselves. Make it easier for yourself as they bear the burden with you. Jethro's solution is delegation of authority, shared responsibility, and layers of accountability. What Jethro proposes is structure. And then Moses accepts the counsel without defensiveness. Exodus 18, verse 24. And Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. No argument, no spiritual defensiveness, no claim to divine exception. Moses listened. Now, at this point, a little yellow flag should go up within us. Moses speaks face to face. Jethro, he is a Midianite. He is a priest of Midian and an outsider. So why does Moses listen? Because this is not disobedience to Adonai. It is obedience to how Adonai sustains truth over time. Look at Jethro's words again in Exodus 18:18. You will surely wear yourself out as well as these people who are with you, because the task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone by yourself. Interestingly, the Torah does not offer any divine objection to Jethro's solution, only Moses' immediate action. But the Torah does not leave this lesson in isolation. Later in Numbers chapter 11, the same crisis reappears. Only this time, Moses brings this problem directly before Adonai. We're going to go to Numbers chapter 11, starting in verse 11. Moses asked Adonai, "Why have you brought trouble on your servant? Haven't I found favor in your eyes that you laid the burden of all these people on me?" Going to verse 14, "I am not able to carry all these people by myself. The load is too heavy for me. If this is how you are treating me, kill me now. If I have found favor in your eyes, kill me, please. Don't let me see my own misery." And this is in the TLV version. Notice his honesty. This is what Jethro was talking about. This is raw emet, raw truth. No illusion, no spiritual posturing. And does Adonai respond to Moses? Yes, but not by telling Moses to try harder. Adonai doesn't say, "Suck it up, buttercup." Not by rebuking him for weakness. Adonai says this in Numbers 11, verse 16. "Bring me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders of the people and their leaders. Take them to the tent of meeting, so they may stand with you there. Then I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the ruach, some of the spirit that is on Moses, and I will place it on them. They will carry with you the burden of the people, so you will not be carrying it alone." In other words, what Jethro saw in wisdom, Adonai confirmed with the Spirit, with the Ruach. This teaches that Adonai does not contradict godly counsel. He often fulfills it later. Now we're going to jump to Acts chapter 6, starting in verse 1. "Now in those days, when the disciples were multiplying, grumbling arose among the Hellenists against the Hebrews, because their widows were being overlooked in the daily support. So the 12 called together the whole group, the whole congregation of the disciples, and said, 'It is not right for us to neglect the word of God in order to serve tables. So the brothers, brothers, select from among you 7 men of good reputation, full of the Spirit and wisdom, who we may put in charge of this duty. But we will devote ourselves to prayer and to the service of the word.'" And then verse 5, the statement pleased the whole congregation, the whole group. Jethro introduces structure, which is the same structure we see in Acts, but it is Adonai who supplies the Spirit. This is why listening to Jethro was not sin. It was preparation. As Proverbs says in chapter 19, verse 20, "Listen to advice or counsel, and accept musar, or accept correction or discipline, in order that you may be wise in the end." You see, to refuse counsel is not faith, it is pride, which means that Jethro is teaching us truth. Truth is too heavy for one person to carry alone. The risk of unchecked responsibility and delegation, it breeds pride, which says only I can do this. Then despair, burnout, disguised as faithfulness, and then subtle falsehoods, confusing control with calling. When Moses, the most humble man on the earth, needed others to help him, truth demands humility, the courage to hear truth from an outsider. This pattern appears again in the life of Yeshua. Yeshua operates in the same structure of truth. Luke chapter 10, verse 1, "After these things the Lord appointed 70 others also, and sent them 2 by 2 before his face in every city and place where he himself was about to go." Yeshua sends out the disciples 2 by 2, not as solo heroes. Paul later teaches that the body of Messiah has many members, and each body part is necessary and important for that body. But look at what he says in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 26. "If one body part suffers, all the parts suffer together. If one part is honored, all the parts rejoice together. All means all the time. Truth is communal because reality itself is relational. The kingdom of heaven is not built on solo heroes, but on a community that bears truth together. Also, after the structure of truth comes revelation. At Sinai, the Torah tells us something extraordinary. Exodus chapter 20, verse 18. All the people witnessed the thundering and the lightning and the sound of the shofar and the mountain smoking. When the people saw it, they trembled and stood far off. The Hebrew is explicit. It literally says, Ro'im et hakolot. That means they saw the voices, not thunderings, they saw the voices. This is not poetic fluff. It signals a collapse of normal sensory boundary, sound becoming visible. This suggests that in the presence of the divine, the boundaries of the created order dissolve. It proves that revelation was not just a subjective hallucination or a standard dream. By seeing the voices, the thundering, the sound of the shofar, the lightning, the Israelites experienced a spiritual victory, proof that the gap between the infinite, the voice, and the finite, the human eyes, had been bridged together. Look at Psalm 68, verse 17. It says, the chariots of God are twice 10,000, thousands upon thousands. This is 22,000. The Lord is among them. Sinai is now in the sanctuary. When God descended on Sinai, he did not come alone. He came with an entourage, 22,000 of chariots. The Israelites saw the thundering, the lightning, and the sound of the shofar occurred because the Israelites were momentarily granted angelic sight, allowing them to perceive the supernatural, the spiritual sustenance of the divine word as it took place king on Mount Sinai. The collapse of the sensory boundaries was necessary because the people weren't just listening to a speech. They were witnessing a cosmic behind-the-scenes view of visible voices of chariots carrying the divine word to the people. When Adonai speaks truth, it does not remain abstract. In Egypt, truth was hidden beneath the illusion of false gods, false power, false stability. At Sinai, truth becomes undeniably real. The people did not merely hear ideas, they encountered reality itself. This aligns with the prophetic vision in Isaiah chapter 2, verse 3. For Torah will go forth from Zion and the word of Adonai from Jerusalem. Truth is not merely taught, it manifests into reality. This is precisely what John means when he writes in John chapter 1, verse 14, and the word became flesh and tabernacled among us. We looked upon his glory, the glory of the one and only from the Father, full of chen and emet, full of grace and truth. Yeshua is Sinai embodied. When Israel saw for a moment, the disciples walked with daily. Yeshua does not argue truth. He embodies it. This is why John chapter 14, verse 6 says, Yeshua says to them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Sinai speaks, Messiah walks. He is the beginning. He sustains the middle and brings history to its truthful end. Messiah does not replace the Torah. He inhabits it. Before I close, let's correct a common misconception about the Ten Commandments. Literally, translated from the Hebrew, 10 words or 10 utterances. They are often misunderstood as moral prohibitions, but notice the opening verse for their introduction. We're in Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. This is not a commandment. It is a statement of reality and truth itself. Only after the reality is established, then comes covenant, commandments, and obligations. By having this sentence precede before the commandments is given, this is to mean to violate the commandments is not merely to break rules. It is to deny God reality and truth. For example, to lie is to act as if Adonai is not truth. To steal is to act as if provisions do not come from him. To murder is to deny the divine image that all humans bear. And to covet is to deny that Adonai gives you exactly what you need. Sin is not ignorance. It is living as if truth does not exist. Paul points this out in Romans chapter 1, verses 18 through 20. Starting in verse 18, in unrighteousness they suppress the truth, because what can be known about God is plain to them, for God has shown it to them. His invisible attributes, his eternal power, his divine nature have been seen, clearly seen ever since the creation of the world, being understood through the things they have been made known. So the people are without excuse. Yeshua intensifies this truth, not by adding to the rules of Adonai, by exposing the inner falsehoods. Yeshua suggests that anger is concealed murder in Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 22. Yeshua says, you have heard, it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever commits murder shall be subject to judgment. This is in our Torah portion. And then he says, I tell you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be subject. But I tell you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be subject to this judgment. Or lust as concealed betrayal. Matthew 5, verse 27 through 28. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, but I tell you that everyone who looks upon a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Yeshua is teaching that truth, especially those found in the Torah, must be governed in the heart, not just in behavior or actions. Here are some practical steps for this coming week or even today, starting with, we should be more welcoming to the Jethros in our lives. That means we should want to seek one honest voice we usually ignore because of the truth that they may bear, and sometimes we don't want to hear it. Then we should posture this with like Moses. That means ask for feedback on a project or a decision or a personal pattern. Then listen without defending. And then do not explain, only receive the wisdom or the correction that they present. This is not weakness. This is derech emet. This is the way of truth. Next, we should try to break the solo hero habit. That is, delegate to sustain. That means identify a heavy task you are carrying alone that is wearing you out. Next, share the burden. Appoint or ask for help from a capable person around you to bear the load. And then reject pride and despair. That means catching yourself. If you think, only I can do this, that is pride. Or if you are burning out and you're calling it faithfulness, that is despair. Also, instead of seeing the 10 Commandments as a list of don'ts, the text invites us to see them as an alignment with godly reality. This is internalizing truth. Practice what Yeshua taught by governing your heart, not just your behavior. Monitor today if eternal anger is acting as concealed murder. And then we should try to practice integrity as worship. That is, speak truth. View lying not just as a mistake, but as acting as if Adonai is not the ultimate truth. Then trust in provision. View the urge to take what isn't yours or envy what others have as a denial that your provisions come from Adonai. And then acknowledging the divine image. That is, treat everyone, every person you encounter today or the next week with high dignity. Remembering that to devalue them is to deny the very image, the very likeness that they bear. Like Moses, when we apply these to our lives, we will discover that accepting outside truth often makes our spiritual path sustainable, not weaker. Psalm 145, verse 18, Adonai is near to all who call on him in truth. Our Torah portion, Yitro, describes the shattering false worlds and gods of Egypt, leading us to Sinai, where revealed truth becomes reality, where Adonai personally trains us to live in that truth. This is where we find that Yeshua embodies that truth. May we be a community of truth and not solo heroes. May we see Adonai's voice and hear his call and not just hear ideas and do's and don'ts. And may we walk in truth from beginning to end, from Aleph to Tav. And with that, Chazaku Baruch, be strong and be blessed. Let's bring the worship team up.